A symbol, more or less.
Let's put it this way. This was before we recorded an album. And we went to New York. And we used to go, because...
2 weeks before he died, Terry Kath did not look like a man at the edge. There were no farewell letters, no breakdowns, no dramatic warnings. In January 1978, he was still laughing, still social, still surrounded by people who believed nothing was wrong. But beneath the surface of those final 14 days, something far more dangerous was taking shape. Friends later remembered not sadness but carelessness. Not despair but a growing comfort with risk. Small moments that seemed harmless at the time. Jokes taken too far. Boundaries treated like illusions. Danger handled as if it were a trick that always obeyed him. On the 23rd of January 1978, inside a house in Los Angeles, one of those moments stopped being a joke. A single assumption failed. A single second erased one of rock's most gifted voices. This is not the story of a planned ending. This is the story of what really happened when confidence turned lethal, and why the signs were hiding in plain sight. The quiet shift. In the days leading up to his death, Terry Kath did not unravel in ways people expect from tragedy. There were no public breakdowns, no visible despair, no urgent warnings that something was wrong. Instead, the change was subtle, almost invisible, unless you were close enough to notice it. During the final 2 weeks of January, 1978, those around him later recalled a quiet shift. Terry became harder to pin down emotionally. Conversations drifted, his focus slipped. He was present, yet slightly removed, as if his attention no longer fully belonged to the room. Some described him as unusually relaxed, others as oddly distracted. At the time, it was easy to dismiss these moments as exhaustion, or simply the temperament of a musician living at full speed. What made these changes so dangerous was precisely how ordinary they seemed. Terry was not behaving like someone in crisis. He showed no signs of fear, no sense of urgency about the future. If anything, he appeared untroubled, almost detached from consequence. After his death on the 23rd of January 1978, these minor details took on new weight. In hindsight, they were not signs of collapse, but of misalignment, a growing distance between perception and risk. Nothing felt wrong enough to stop him, and that, ultimately, is why no one did. Playing with the line. By the middle of January 1978, a pattern began to form, one that only made sense after it was too late. In the days leading up to his death, Terry Kath developed a growing fixation with firearms, treating danger not as a threat, but as something controllable. Friends later confirmed that Terry had begun carrying a handgun more frequently during private gatherings. At first, it seemed casual, almost theatrical. He would remove the magazine, hold the gun up, and reassure those around him with the same phrase, "Don't worry, it's not loaded." The gesture was meant to disarm fear, not provoke it. But what followed crossed a quieter line. Witnesses recalled Terry spinning the gun in his hand, pulling the trigger into empty space, turning a lethal object into a kind of joke. These were not isolated moments. The behavior repeated itself over several days. Each time, nothing happened, and each time, the absence of consequence reinforced the illusion that nothing ever would. In the context of 1970 rock culture, this behavior was not immediately flagged as dangerous. Excess, risk, and bravado were normalized. Terry wasn't threatening himself or others. He wasn't angry. He wasn't reckless in the traditional sense. He was calm, confident, almost playful. That calmness is what made the situation so deceptive. What no one realized or wanted to confront was that safety had become performative. Terry trusted the ritual more than the reality. The gun had stopped being a weapon and had become a prop, one that obeyed him every time he tested it, until it didn't. When the truth emerged after the 23rd of January 1978, this pattern became impossible to ignore. The tragedy was not a single mistake in one moment. It was a series of moments where danger was invited in, normalized, and left unchallenged. The distance no one named. In the final week of his life, Terry Kath did not argue with his bandmates. There were no blow-ups, no ultimatums, no public signs of conflict. What appeared instead was something far quieter and far easier to miss. Those close to Chicago later described a subtle withdrawal. Terry still showed up. He was still physically present in conversations and gatherings, but emotionally, he seemed less engaged. Discussions about upcoming plans, schedules, or long-term direction no longer held his attention. When others spoke about the future, Terry listened but rarely added to it. This absence was not interpreted as a warning at the time. Chicago was a large band with strong personalities, and Terry had always moved to his own rhythm. Silence did not register as danger. It felt temporary, manageable, normal. Yet, in hindsight, the pattern is striking. Terry was not pulling away from the band in anger. He wasn't expressing dissatisfaction or frustration. Instead, he appeared quietly disengaged from projection, from imagining what came next. The future existed around him, but he no longer seemed anchored to it. What makes this detail so unsettling is that it left no clear point of intervention. There was nothing to confront, nothing to fix. No one thought to stop him and ask if something was wrong because nothing looked wrong enough. After the 23rd of January 1978, this silence took on a different meaning. It was no longer just a personality shift. It became part of a larger pattern, a gradual stepping back, not from Chicago, but from consequence itself. The distance was never announced. It was simply allowed to grow. And in that quiet space, risk went unchecked. The illusion of invincibility. In the final days before his death, the most dangerous force surrounding Terry Kath was not despair, addiction, or intention. It was confidence unchecked, reinforced, and never challenged. By mid-January 1978, Terry was operating under a belief shared by many at the height of creative power, that nothing truly bad could happen to him. He had survived excess, pressure, and the chaos of the rock world. Every risk he had taken so far had ended without consequence. That history quietly reshaped his sense of danger. Friends later described a man who did not fear outcomes. Terry wasn't reckless in the emotional sense. He was composed, steady, even relaxed. But his calm masked a deeper miscalculation, the assumption that control was permanent. This is where many narratives go wrong. In the years following his death, speculation often leaned toward darker explanations: depression, hidden intent, or self-destruction. But those closest to Terry consistently rejected that framing. There was no preparation, no withdrawal from life, no sign that he believed the end was near. Instead, Terry displayed what psychologists later described as an illusion of invincibility, a mindset where repeated survival convinces a person that probability no longer applies to them. Risk becomes theoretical, warnings become unnecessary, consequences feel optional. In this state, danger doesn't feel urgent enough to stop. It feels manageable, familiar, almost unreal. That belief shaped the final decisions of Terry Kath's life, not because he wanted to die, but because he never believed he could. And when confidence replaces caution, it creates a silence where intervention never arrives. By the time that silence was broken, it was already too late. The last 48 hours. In the final 48 hours before his death, nothing about Terry Kath suggested an ending. There were no urgent phone calls, no emotional confessions, no attempts to settle unfinished business. The 22nd of January 1978 passed quietly, without ceremony, without warning. On the 23rd of January 1978, inside a home in Los Angeles, Terry was with friends. The atmosphere was casual, unremarkable, the kind of moment that never registers as important until it becomes irreversible. At some point, Terry picked up a handgun. As he had done before, he removed the magazine. He held the weapon up and said, "See, it's empty." The gesture was familiar, reassuring, routine. What no one realized was that one round remained in the chamber. When Terry pulled the trigger, there was no time to react, no second chance. The sound ended everything instantly. He was 31 years old. Authorities later ruled the death an accidental, self-inflicted gunshot wound. There was no evidence of suicide, no indication of intent. Just a single fatal miscalculation after days of normalized risk. What happened to Terry Kath was not a mystery of motive, but a tragedy of certainty. He didn't believe the danger was real until the moment it was. And by then, the line he had been testing for weeks finally disappeared.